Welcome to the ManXchange podcast hosted by Coach Alfonso Short. Join him each week on Saturday mornings as he engages with his guests and they discuss men leading, boys thriving, and communities winning. The conversation is underway.
Good day, everyone. I hope that you've had a beautiful weekend and that you're enjoying this Saturday. I am surely enjoying it, and most of all, because I have an opportunity to share with you on ManXchange. ManXchange, again, is a place that normally we're speaking with men to share and communicate things that's going on in their lives, how we can make better communities, make us better people for our societies and our families. But today, I kind of have a special guest that is a part of helping men become better. I'll let her give a few more nuggets about herself when we get started. And for those who have not ever had the experience of ManXchange, this is your first time, I please hope that you enjoyed the show and that know that this show is on at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live and on Sundays at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time on Conversations Radio Network, which you can go to at conversationsradio.com. I can also be contacted on Linktree Coach Short. And again, with this YouTube, you can go back and watch the videos, at your convenience because we do have them posted. And also I have books that are on Amazon if you ever get interested in doing some reading of mine. I'd like to thank you. And today I have a young lady on the show who has really opened up an opportunity for me to hopefully grow more in this industry and platform of speaking and communicating with men so that we can share for the greater good of ourselves and society. Her name is Miss Penda James, and I would say she's a writer, scribe, and coach, creator of content, of books, or whatever in this platform and others. How are you doing today, Miss Penda?
I'm awesome, Coach Short. Thank you for asking.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am from Dayton, Ohio, which is the land of funk music. Roger Troutman, Shirley Murdoch, the Ohio Players, Lakeside, absolutely, and Paul Laurence Dunbar, to name a few of the people who shaped who I am as a woman growing up. I am the daughter, the oldest child of wonderful Will Horton and Marilyn Joy Pitts Horton, who are both with the father right now. So I have a daughter who's in college. My husband is in the ministry and I'm a writer. I'm getting into film production, which is a new big dream that I have had for a long, long time. And being an author as well as coaching other people to leave their legacy in writing by telling their stories.
And you've been doing this for how many years?
Since 2006. So 20, is that 20 years? Oh my gosh.
Yes, 20 years. 2 decades.
I started my business officially in 2006. And I have been writing for as long as I can remember. My Grandma Dear, she had a big queen or king size bed. It was very high off the ground. And I just remember sitting in the bed with her and she would read to me Shel Silverstein poetry, and she would send me books to read over the summer, and I would have to mail my assignments of essays because she was a literacy specialist and she didn't play with us and our reading skills. And that's where my love of writing came from. And my father was an English major, and that's part of the reason why I love writing and words so much.
Yeah. I could tell from just the passion that you speak it with now. And I was going to say, not only being a reader and a writer, you must have been as a young person a very good storyteller amongst your peers.
Yes, my grandparents would sit around on couches and I would like sit between their legs or sit on the floor cross-legged and just listen to them tell their stories about down home. You know, my grandma was from Barnesville, Georgia. Grandma Deer was from Rosebud, Texas. And my grandfather was from Alabama, I think Montgomery, I think. And so they would just sit around and like swap stories. And I just used to love being in their presence to hear what they talked about. Sometimes some things I was so shocked about. Like, you know, my grandma talked about how when she went to vote, Grandma Horton, when she went to register to vote, they asked her how many bubbles are in a bar of soap.
Wow.
I always tell people that story when I go to vote. It's
That's
just really, really, really important to me. And grandma, you know, she only had one pair of shoes all year long. She went barefoot. She said barefooted. I went barefooted. You know, they didn't have the money, but they would pick cotton and they would do all the things. So it's important to me, and that's why I wanted to create this opportunity for some men to tell their stories, because this is the 10th year of my mom's passing, and my father's been gone about 5 years. And I have writings from my mother, her journals, and she would email me all the time. She'd leave me notes, but I don't have a lot of things from my father, and I don't know much other than oral stories that he passed down to us when we were growing up. You
right.
know, they were married until they both, you know, passed on. But I need more men to tell their stories. I
And
need sometimes when I'm sitting and I'm feeling a little bit sad or frustrated or I don't know what to do. I wish I could just sit down with my dad's journal and he could when I was 17, I did blah, 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 you know, and then I would find my strength, you know, from that. But that's why I do this work.
and I do too. I need more men to talk and speak and write. So this is our kingdom connection that we have right here. And you mentioned starting your company. What is the name of your company?
So the name of my company is Inscribed Inspiration. And so I do publishing, I coach writers, and I do, you know, publish my own books and some other people's books. But I started a podcast and it's called the InkSpill. And not only is it a podcast, but it also was a writers accountability group where I had this idea. I was going to invite people to come into the writers room with me, and within a few months I would help them get their books done. Men never came into the room. I've had 4 rounds of the ink spill, and probably about 8 books have come out of that. No men. I did it. I was going to do it at a discount, and then pay what you can, and then I was going to do it for free. Nobody signed up. So what I thought about was I have worked with some amazing authors, and their stories, their testimonies are so amazing. Like when I first met my brother friend Taurus, he told me, Penda, my life is a movie. I was cracking up, like, I don't believe you. And
Yes.
seriously, his life is like a movie. You know, he's had a stroke and almost died a couple times. He was in a car accident, his heart failed. Like, I'm like, this is crazy. And so I'm grateful that he wrote his story. And then, you know, I
Yes.
have just Manasseh, who we met in college, and his, you know, testimony about fatherhood is just so powerful to me. And then two other brothers, you know, Mr. Mackey, Robert Mackey, his testimony of like these principles, 12 principles. I never would have thought about, you know, writing down what I've learned in my life as principles and being able to teach from that. And he talks about in his story 12 principles that saved his life and kept him sane, kept him protected while he was incarcerated.
Yes.
And then you have Solomon Ra. I met him when I was in high school. He was big dude in the city playing the band. You know, he played the drums. He was so great. He cut everybody's hair. He was so amazing. But he always wrote. He wrote poetry, and he has very unique handwriting in cursive. People don't even write in cursive.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about it, Coach, they say when we write in cursive, it accesses a different part of our brain.
Yes.
So
we're not using that part of the brain in
we're not
today's
using
society because
yes.
they can't.
So I wanted to highlight these brothers who, and there I have more men who I have worked with to coach and to help them tell their stories. And I chose them, I want to introduce them to you because their stories about manhood. Yes. Like, it makes me think about my dad. I'm really doing this because I wanted to honor my father. And I really have been experiencing a lot of reflection about my grief these past couple of months. And I thought a lot about how my dad ignited the fire in me to write. And he was one of my biggest cheerleaders as a writer. But he was an English major. He could cuss like a sailor too. So he knew how to use his words. And it was important to me that I honor him in this way because I want men to leave the wonderful legacy. They called my daddy wonderful. He was in the fraternity. And so everybody just kind of knew him as Wonderful Will. And this was my way to keep the wonderful legacy alive by training up men to write and tell their story. So Daddy they call it the porch of knowledge. He had a porch in his in their house, and he would play his little funk music on the boom box. He still had a boom box. He would play his music on the boom box, turn it up real loud. And he had a corner house. So anybody that was driving by would see him sitting on his porch, smoking his cigar, bobbing his head to his music. And the young guys would come and sit on the porch of knowledge with him. And so they would learn about his music. They would learn about, his days of like navigating what manhood was like. I'm not a man. I have, godsons, but I don't, I watch as my husband nurtures and disciples these young men. And the way that I do it is by saying, okay, now write your story down. Write that down.
Well, that's your assignment. That's God's kingdom assignment to you, and it's much needed. And as much as you say you're fishing and you're pulling the net in at times and there's nothing there, well, you're presenting it. You're available, and it's available. And what you're doing is not being done in vain for sure. And I'm glad that with the platform that I'm operating from, it gives the opportunity, but also take in mind, don't wait till they write a book, because it might happen by them talking to me, then going back to you for the book.
Yeah, I was
if we get men talking about the real is a beginning in itself, because they have the book is within all of us, but the book is within the average male out here, but they just got to get ignited with something that gets things started. So we can look at it, and there's no particular order, but I hope that a platform like I have, send them to me.
Yeah.
Send them back to you, and maybe hopefully that there's something that ignites that fire in them that, hey, I feel safe because you have made it a safe place that they can come now. I have someone that's available to work with me and move forward.
Absolutely. I was just going to say, I was in a networking meeting one time, and we all had to go around the room and introduce ourselves. And I said, I help people write books. I help them record their history, remember their strengths so they can write it down. And the person that went after me, he's like, yeah, I work with young people, but, I don't really tell them to write no books or nothing. And so I had to come back and say, it's okay that you don't encourage them to write a book, but I do want you to encourage them to write their stories down, because there is a different level of confidence that an author has, that a writer has. And he was like, I never thought about it like that. these young people who are living in the city that's full of violence and all this stuff, and if they see that their words can make a difference, it might change the culture. He's like, I never thought of that.
Words are
So
powerful, and words are our
absolutely.
power to get to the community.
Yes, absolutely.
So that's interesting. So what are some of the things that you have going on now as your current events to be coming up that we need to be aware of as a community and afar?
Well, that's an excellent question. I'm working on Penda right now, and I really poured my heart into creating this curriculum for men, and God told me I needed to pivot. So I'm getting ready to go into production for a short film that I wrote. I'm the co-writer of the film, so it was my original idea, and now I have given it to the director. So it's really her vision now. So I am in a place where I'm learning how to trust God differently. And so all of my projects are being elevated in a new way. And
Yeah.
as I'm even working with all of my clients, men and women and children, I have some children that I've worked with as well. I'm trying to encourage them to see the value of their words, and to you want to go to McDonald's, sell a book.
Right.
You have this dream that you want to go to Disney World. You have coloring books, go set up a lemonade stand or something like that. So I'm trying to think about legacy in a different way. It's not just books, but even here, years from now, somebody's going to pull up these interviews that you're doing, Coach, on YouTube, and the nuggets of wisdom that you are laying down are leaving roots for somebody who needs them later. And that's what I'm working on, trying to pivot and think about, if everybody's not going to write a book, can we do some short little videos?
Right.
Can you walk outside and show us your garden?
Well,
that's legacy.
I'm reflecting on, as you said, your parents, grandparents have you all reading books and you writing about the book. And that's one of my methods when I'm mentoring in school systems, or mentoring or doing some type of leadership, is that I have young men read a book, or I'll read something, but I want all of their opinions about what it, and sometimes it's oral. If the time span is proper, I might write down what you got from this story that I just read. And they're very short books. A lot of times I may just read an article about something. Now, could you write down what you got from the article? And it's different. And my proof to them is that everyone thinks different. Nothing's wrong with how you processed it, your perspective. This is life. So now think about writing about yourself. And I was never thinking about, they can write a book. But I want them to be confident that first they can think and put down what you're thinking, because if you look at it later on, which will be called journaling, you say, I've grown to another level of stage since then. I thought that then, but now I think differently, whether for better or worse. I have a different concept now, and they become confident that reading something or listening more with intent than just playing when you were in school.
Yeah, when I was growing up, we had homework over the summer, and we would have to read books and then bring our essays to class on the first day of class. And I think about how this generation, some of them, they don't know who Tupac is. They don't know who Nikki Giovanni is, Langston Hughes. They don't know Paul Laurence Dunbar. And I think it's important for me to keep reminding people that there are great writers. I studied Nikki Giovanni, and she always, you would see, if you look at her, go to YouTube and look up her reciting her poetry, she's often going to be reading it.
Yes.
Because she always wanted to honor the words, honor the ink on the paper. Right. We've lost that over the years. And it's just really important to me that I help people understand why it's important. Books are being taken out of schools. Our history is being erased. It's being reframed. You know, they used to braid stuff into our hair back in the day, hide things in the pillows. You know, you sneaking trying to learn how to read by candlelight. So the drive of the people that came before us who didn't have the privilege and the honor to learn how to read is now like, I don't care about that. I don't want to read. I don't read. You know, our attention span is so short now. And it's just really important to me that I encourage people to write their histories down so we don't lose it, so we don't lose ourselves. I have conversations like, you know, with my daughter, and we're different places, and I just sometimes I just cannot get her to understand. I'm like, I wasn't raised that way. Like, if somebody come to pick me up, you don't sit outside till I come outside. You come in and say, hey, Mr. Horton, what's happening? How you doing? How you doing, Miss Horton? And then we go, you know, things like that. But they don't.
No, it's fast paced, and we look at it and say, oh, how disrespectful it is in an ethical sense of historically how we have arrived to where we are. But then we have to also, you know, not so much give in, but understand they're in a faster paced world. And everything is you take it out of microwave box, put it here, it's a dinner. Everything now, so everything is done in warp speed, but thinking, reading and writing is still fundamental.
That's good.
And learning principles, core values are still fundamental. It crosses all walks of people, and we can't let that go with the distraction of all the other things that's happening in the world around us, and that's all people. And it's no anti anyone, but we have to focus. We come from a community that's been unexposed and deprived for so long, and we still have richness. So we want to dig into the richness, and that's into the soul, that's into the inner man of every man or woman. That's what you're doing, and you're doing a great work. I'm tempted to try to dig into the men and young men and my generation alike, and see if we can bring some things together that we might have got something from one or two grandfathers or great grandfathers, if we were fortunate, that we bring it and see what the root of it is, because it's still something we can learn and grow from.
Yeah, I think you brought up a really good point, that we have to give people grace. You know, I was raised a certain way. My husband was raised a certain way, and we came together, and my daughter was raised completely different than both of us. And so she's smarter than us. She's dealing with more than us. You know, she doesn't have some of the same experiences that we had, because COVID, you know, changed a lot of things. And so I do often think about, I want to hold on to some of the old school values, you know, that my dad imparted into us, that my mom enforced for us. But life is not the same as it was when I grew up in the 80s and the 90s. I graduated from high school in 1992. I've been out of college almost 30 years. So when I think about how, even if I had the opportunity to get somebody to write down where you are right now and just keep it, write down your vision, your route, write the vision and make it plain. And then look at it again in 5 years and see how you've changed. That's one of my biggest regrets, Coach, is that I had a journal that I kept from middle school through high school. And one day and it was a beautiful journal, and I cannot find it anymore. My favorite color is green. So my mom got me this beautiful orange and green kente cloth covered journal, and it was 8.5 by 11. And one day, in a fit of like super religious whatever I was, I sat down on the floor and ripped that journal up into tiny shreds. And I wish that I had those pieces of my story so I could see where I am now and could say to the little girl back then, we made it, girl.
Yeah.
And that's why I encourage people to, if you're not going to write it down, record it. If you're not going to record it, tell somebody so they can say, oh, grandpa did this because blah, 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 you know.
And it could have been a message, a divine message that this you that you've just scripted is no longer you. You've changed, so we don't need that. Move forward. I'm not a prophet by no means.
I received that.
Everything is a teachable moment. And also stage of maturity that you probably have more tolerance, temperance, and patience within yourself now from that. If you go back what you just described that you did with that honorary little girl who tore up that journal because something wasn't the world according to Penda.
Yes. Well, thank you, because that gave me a different lens. I've spent so many years.
Now look at you. Now look at that woman now.
Look at them. I was spent so many years being angry that I did that, but that has given me a different perspective. Like, yeah, we don't need it, and we don't need to remember her from that perspective, but we honor that she got us here.
Yeah. And now you're writing, you're scribing, you're coaching, and now you're going to get into movies and all of this. So, hey, it all worked out for the greater good of the glory that we give to God.
I am so grateful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
You're welcome. Thank you for sharing. And we could go on all night.
Yes.
But we want this time because we have connections, because we're connected with my wife, Dr. Nissa Short, and some of the areas of work that you do. So I hear your name quite often. I know I'll hear it more. And I know that we'll be collaborating with things you're doing with her, as well as what we're connecting to do with enriching the lives of men and bringing them out of the cave, so to say, and say,
yes, sir.
Come out to the light and share.
Yes. I see you having a ManXchange conference.
It's coming.
It's coming. Okay. Okay. I see it. You know, it's closed doors. Dr. Anissa and I won't be in there listening, you know, but I see, you know, healing on you, that you'll be able to bring that healing that men need. So I'll be looking forward to that.
Thank you so much. And I'll need you and I'll need her. So you may not be in the room, but you'll be getting my questions so that I can come correct with the answers. Just because I'm a man and look like them, I have a temper that's not saying a bad temper, but it can be tempered when you deal with us as men. And I want to always have the gentle but truthful way of interacting with all people, but particularly men, because we get our feelings hurt. And that's not the business I'm in at all.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, how can anyone get in touch with you if they want more information and have projects that they want to take a chance to see if they can make it happen with you?
Yes. So you can find me on my website, www.pendaljames.com. I am on Facebook, Penda L. James. I'm on Instagram as Scribe Coach. And Pen Scribe. So Penda and then Scribed. And I'm also on TikTok too. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm everywhere. I'm everywhere.
That's wonderful. Well, thanks again so much. I hope that the audience enjoyed this informational program today, and we will have more programming like this. And it's been a great show for me. Of course, my mind is always expanded talking to anyone, and I'm sure just in talking to you now that I have some things to share with my wife, and we'll be looking to again grow together as a team in doing some of these projects.
Amen. I'm grateful for you, Coach. Thank you.
All right. So audience, please share this information that they can tap into the ManXchange on YouTube every Saturday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time and 4 p.m. Central Standard Time on Conversations Radio Network at conversationsradio.com. I can also be located on Linktree, Coach Short, and Facebook, Alfonso Short. Everyone have a great weekend, a great evening. Take care.